Today on the podcast, we're talking about a subject that is near and dear to Max's heart, which is sports. And that is because for the first time ever in 147 years, Wimbledon, which is the all-English club, is going to replace 300 line judges with essentially AI. That's going to be the new refs. I think there's a lot of really interesting things about this story. For myself specifically, it's kind of like, where does sports go when all of our refs become AI? Is this good? Is this bad?
Absolutely. And one of the most interesting things that I can think of, because I can think of two main sports where they started to integrate AI and it had a value effect on the actual game, or an impactful effect on the game. The first one, which is I hold very deeply to my heart, is baseball. So they started a couple years ago running back the VAR systems, as well as the automated pitch count, or the pitch clock for every after every pitch, which basically sets and can predict more accurately the times of the games. The other one is in football, for the American soccer as well. I'm American, by the way, but football. They started integrating AI and also machine learning to get more stats, more kind of breakdowns of, for instance, what distance players ran during a game. For instance, nowadays they're coming out with these little Gatorade patches, which can show how much hydration you need to refill yourself as well. So it's a really, really, really interesting topic. However, one of the biggest things about baseball was that when this AI tool, or when computers started to come into the system, it was really, really interesting because people did not really enjoy that. And I think it was more just based on the culture of baseball and really having it have that, like, I don't want to say personable type of sport, but it was really about the enthusiasts that cared about like the human to human contact rather than the actual effect of the game. However, there are stuff such as like the VAR in football, or in the Euro leagues or whatever, in La Liga and all the other European football leagues over here, that have actually had a really, really impactful and actual value effect in terms of the actual game. You can see, I mean, it happened last year or a couple of years ago with France and I believe Argentina in the finals of the World Cup, where France was offsides, and then or maybe I'm getting it wrong, but they were able to effectively make the correct choice. However, it really just brings it back to, is it going to be adopted and is it going to be enjoyed by the fans? Because I think obviously at the end of the day, all these sports, all these corporations are run by entertainment. So if the people don't like it, and if they don't feel like it's going to bring value to the game, or if they just have this negative stigma towards it, it's really going to be interesting in seeing what these clubs and these corporations and also sports as a whole do about that, whether it's making it even more leading to even more adoption to where they add more AI elements into the game, or they just decide to lay it back a little bit and choose to prolong the human effect.
I think this is fascinating too. There was recently a quote from Sally Bolton, who's the chief executive at the All English Lawn Tennis Club. As she said, the decision to introduce live electronic line calling at the championship was made following a significant period of consideration and consultation, right? They're saying, then they also said, having reviewed the results of the testing undertaken at the championships this year, we consider the technology to be significantly robust, and the time is right to take this important step in seeking maximum accuracy in our officiating for the players. It will offer them the same conditions they've played under at a number of other events on the tour.
So yeah, but it brings up a little bit bigger of a topic because, for instance, and sorry for the people that are not baseball listeners, however, baseball is one of those interesting sports where there was never an actual specific strike zone that was applicable to all players, because it matters based on the slump or the slouch in the batting stance, and then also the player's height. I believe that the strike zone is their shoulders to their knees. So it's kind of a little bit of an abstract idea of what is a strike and what is a ball. And I think that's why fans enjoyed the umpire aspect and the human aspect of the umpiring or umping of the games. However, especially in stuff like Wimbledon, where there's a fine line that is set, and if the ball crosses that, the ball crosses that. There's no kind of ands, if, or buts, or if it was a little bit outside, because there are rules for that. So it's really, really interesting. I think it's also really, really interesting as well that they full on went into 300 different line judges, or replacing the 300 line judges between all ages of, I think here it says 18 to 80. So really, really interesting. Also as well, I think it's interesting because the Wimbledon is just a 2-week event. So this is really kind of like a trial period to where they can either get value from this, or they just scrap it and then come back next year with human judges as well. So it's really, really interesting. I also think that it's going to start to break down the stigma or the stipulations of AI in sporting as well. We've seen this with Hollywood a little bit. We saw this with writers when ChatGPT came out. Why is this AI tool or this computer robot able to basically do what I do in a fraction of the time? What happens now if it goes on to sporting events, and now we see stuff like AI refs in NBA games, or refs in football, AI refs in football? And it's really going to start to bring a little bit of a change to the landscape of all industries, and I think everyone's able to see that. So without further ado, thank you again for your time. We wanted to just give you guys, as always, just a little 10-minute summary of all the things happening in AI. If you are so kind and you have 10 fingers on your hand, maybe you don't have to have 10 fingers, but if you have 1 minute of your time, not even 1 minute, 20 seconds of your time, if you would be so kind to go down, drop a review so that Jaden and I can keep on doing these and grow the podcast as big and as voluptuous as possible. We would really, really appreciate it. We are trying to get this podcast as exponentially ranking as possible. So once again, if you have 10 fingers or you have 20 seconds of your time, please drop down us a review in the comments or the about section of the Spotify episode. And as always, hope you have a wonderful 10 minutes, and we will see you on the next episode.